folks, and welcome to Paddock Pass, your post-second pre-season test edition for the 2020 Formula One season. The 6 days of pre-season testing are over. It seems kind of mad you only get 6 days nowadays, but that is it. Not a lot of time if something goes wrong, not a lot of time if you're a rookie, as is our first interviewee today, Nicholas Latifi, the only rookie in the field in 2020, and he will be racing for Williams. As you will know, they were the first car out on the first day of testing in week one. But Nicholas had a few issues. His car broke down on that final day of the first test, and indeed he had issues in this second test as well, oil-related issues with his Mercedes power unit. And that's a theme, actually, not just here, but at the factory team, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So yeah, not the perfect start to his Formula One career for Nicholas, but nothing he could do about that, and the team seemingly looking in much better shape than they were this time last year. Don't take my word for it, though. Let's hear from Nicholas Latifi as he looks toward his first season in Formula One.
Good effort today on track, more than 150 laps. Can you tell us how was your day, and does this make up for the lost time yesterday?
Yeah, overall I think it was quite a positive day. I got to experience the car and kind of both the trims that you would on a race weekend, so morning going for more performance and getting to use the softer tires. So let's say finally getting to feel a bit more the limits of the car. And then the afternoon, it's the first time this test putting like proper race fuel and doing a full race simulation, and if anything more than that. So yeah, it was a lot of laps, very good learning for me. Definitely the lap count today makes up a bit for, let's say, the lost mileage on previous days. My neck can feel it, that's for sure, neck and shoulders. But yeah, overall quite satisfied.
There was so much positivity in Williams getting here like right on time, like 9 a.m. in the morning. I guess like all of that positivity maybe gets converted into what is the real situation. So what are your real feelings with the car, and do you think Q2 is a possibility for this year?
I mean, my real feelings with the car is it is a step forward from last year. This is without a doubt, for sure. It's difficult to know how close we're going to be in Melbourne, because we don't know what the other teams are doing, and obviously it's winter testing, and normally year on year everyone is going to find some time, right? So we know we've improved. Have we improved more than the other teams improved? We still have to wait and see. But again, the feeling I have with the car is a positive one this morning, especially in track conditions that I think were still not optimal from the track, that fact that it had rained. It was still curbs that were a bit wet. So I was quite pleased with the effort we did in the morning. But yeah, kind of a bit, let's say, of unknowns going into Melbourne. Maybe tomorrow, I mean, George is all day in the car, so hopefully it'll be a more consistent day, and I think he'll be mirroring quite a similar program I did, and we'll be able to see from his side what he thinks as well.
You've had relationships with Renault, with Force India and Formula One, but Williams is already your most longest relationship. How is that evolving, and after 2 intense weeks of testing, how do you feel inside the team and with all your colleagues?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, already from last year, so kind of immersing in the team environment, right from, let's say, the first on-track opportunity in Bahrain, and through all the other outings I did, the FP1s, kind of building that relationship. So for sure, coming into this year, I already had that element of familiarity, already feeling comfortable and in the working environment. I was working with new engineers this year, new engineers as part of the team, so had to start establishing a relationship with them as the race driver. Your race engineer is kind of your most important guy in the team. But no, I mean, everything's been going great so far. I mean, from all aspects of the team personnel, not just the race side, but the marketing, communications, hospitality people, everyone back at the factory. It's a real kind of homey feeling, and I felt comfortable to just kind of be myself right from the off.
And so to Haas. Difficult year in 2019, hoping to make amends and improve and fight their way up through the midfield in 2020. Testing was not all plain sailing for them. They managed to get their race runs done. In fact, Romain Grosjean, who we're going to hear from in a moment, ended up doing more laps than were actually put on the book for him on his last day in the car on Thursday. Today, final day of the test, Kevin Magnussen was supposed to be doing the bulk of the running, but actually didn't get that much done in the afternoon. A gearbox issue curtailing his run plans. So yeah, not all perfect for them. Let's talk to Romain, though, about the team's expectations, what he's learned in testing going towards Melbourne. Romain, more than 100 laps on the board for you today. Did you get through everything in the program that you wanted to?
Yeah, we did, and actually did even more than the program, so that's been a good day in that aspect. We tried a lot of things and a lot of different parts on the car. not all solving the balance issue that we could have during winter testing, but they're very positive to have all those in the portfolio of settings for when we get to Melbourne or Bahrain or whatsoever, when the track could be different and we need different settings of the car.
So is it still about correlation between parts that you're bringing, what you've seen in the wind tunnel, and how they actually react on the car on track?
I think we're getting on top of this, and I think everyone is really on it, and it's great to see. And also the debrief when we're talking and when we're giving our feedback, you can see all the ears being wide open and everyone being ready to listen. So we're all working together in a really good manner. I think the car's got more sensor than you could possibly imagine. So it's all good in that aspect, and we tried some new different parts on the car physically, but also some different setups and just see what it does to the car. And as I say, that could be very useful in the next few races.
Barcelona in February is never entirely representative. It's always rather cold. It's not as cold as most years this year. Is that helping you get an understanding of the 5-compound tyre?
Yeah, I think it's good conditions. Really, we are lucky with the weather, and a bit windy this afternoon, which is always good to understand how the car is working in those conditions. So I think we can't complain.
That's good. That's a positive. Do you have any areas where you want to see a massive improvement, or is it all incremental steps from here?
No, I think we know where the positives are on the car, and we know where we can improve. So we're working on it and making sure that we are improving.
Any reason to be worried for Australia?
Not for now.
The team that we used to know as Toro Rosso, AlphaTauri, has had a pretty okay pre-season testing season. They've had a couple of issues along the way, a couple of moments when they've been up on the jacks a little bit longer than they might have wanted, but in the most part, pretty solid. And again, pretty decent level of confidence down here from the drivers and the team management as to the season that's about to unfold. Pierre Gasly, we're going to talk to him now. And although, again, there's a bit of a question mark over where they sit in the overall order, probably not right at the top of that midfield of the Racing Points and the McLarens and all of those guys, maybe somewhere in the middle, there's a glint in Pierre's eye. And as you'll see, there's a little glimmer of a smile when he talks, which says to me he's got a decent car. Not a bad day. Talk us through it.
1 second, please.
It was pretty good, quite intense. Especially with a bit delay session in the morning with the like dam track. We had to do most of the work in the afternoon, so quite many laps. I think over 100 laps in the afternoon. But no, it was great. We managed to do a race sim, push the car a bit more, see what the car's got and which kind of balance we have when we start pushing more. And it's pretty good.
How was it on heavy fuel, and how did the balance change as the fuel load went down?
I think compared to last week was slightly more difficult today with the wind. It made it like super tricky the whole day. So overall, I think was quite a bit slower and more challenging to drive compared to last week. But it seems to be like this for everybody. Overall we'll have to see for sure. There are a couple of things we need to improve. Areas I feel we need to unlock some performance. But I think we can call it a decent test for us.
Headline lap time was pretty tasty.
After what I said, honestly, the car didn't feel at its best today with the wind compared to last week, but that's what we get for everybody. So I think it was decent. I know we have a bit more than that in the pocket, so overall I think it's pretty positive.
How much more do you have in the pocket? Because towards the end of the day, you went out, Sector 2 was looking very, very special, looking on for a low 1:17, and you mysteriously backed out of the lap.
No, I think we have a bit more coming, but after we'll put everything for Melbourne. But I think overall I'm pretty pleased with the car. I think we found some good directions, Melbourne will be a lot different than Barcelona, so don't want to get too excited now. But we had a pretty good test.
These guys have done an awful lot of running in testing, and we're the only team to utilise their test driver as well. Robert Kubica getting half a day in both of the weeks. Kimi Räikkönen and Antonio Giovinazzi doing the remainder of the time. We did want to talk to Kimi today, but he had to go before his media time, so we're going to hear from Antonio Giovinazzi instead. Are they as prepared? Are they as ready as they hoped to be? And really, Alfa are one of those teams, I think, that at the end of this pre-season test session sit in something of a grey area. They haven't impressed to the point that people are marking them out as definite front runners for the midfield. They don't look awful either. So uncertainty, certainly one of the biggest question marks as we leave for the first race.
Almost 100 laps there today. Pre-season testing's all done and dusted for you. Are you pretty happy with what you've got done?
I would say today was really a difficult day. Starting with rain of tonight, and this morning the track was dumping, so we lost time there. And then when I came back in the track, I touched the outside curb on entry turn 4, and then I lost the car, and and I think I missed the morning. And then in the afternoon, we did mostly a race pace, and then unfortunately it was a yellow flag for the last 10 minutes. The condition today was really difficult with the wind, and the track was not really fast as last week. So finished the test not 100% happy, but we need to focus on our job now. Tomorrow hopefully can be a smoother day for Kimi, and we can get more data, and then I hope we can be ready for Melbourne.
You just come out of the debrief and talked about doing a long run today. What did you learn up there about where this car is at the moment?
We don't know. I think we struggled a little bit more today. I think with the wind and everything, we were a little bit more sensitive. But I think for everyone it was the same. It was not an easy condition, I would say. But unfortunately, was today. But tomorrow I think will be a better day, and we can see where will be our car. Thank you.
To Renault now, who, a little bit like Alfa Romeo, are one of those big question marks at the end of the testing season here in Formula One. They've looked fast. Ocon looking quick, Ricciardo looking dead quick, was fastest at lunchtime today on the C5 tyre. And yet, some people have them at the top of the midfield fight, some people have them towards the bottom of the midfield fight, and others have them just in the middle. See? Whole level of uncertainty around Renault. Have they kept their cards close to their chest? Is the car going to take them back to where they want to be, which is ultimately at the top of that midfield fight and hopefully punching towards the top 3? No better person to ask than Daniel Ricciardo. He's done enough seasons of pre-season testing to know a good car from a bad one, and also to know whether he will be entering his home race with any semblance of confidence that he can pull out a good result. Afternoon.
Hello.
Not bad that morning. How does it feel out there?
It was nice to put some soft ones on and go. I don't think I've ever done a low 16 around here, so quickest I've ever been around Barcelona. I've been coming here since 2007, so long time going round and round, but I finally got a good lap.
Has it all gone to plan this week? Is there anything you're even slightly worried about?
It's testing, it hasn't been like perfect all the way through, and even now obviously it's nice to see your name at the top, but you never really know, and we also know we're not the quickest car right now, so it's nice to see your name up there, but come racing, we know we still got some work to do. But I think yesterday was a tougher one for us. I think we resolved a bit of that today, so I think we're nearly there. So it's been positive, and even the not positive parts, I think have had a positive outcome. So we've learned.
You might not be the quickest out there, but crucially, number one, are you quicker than you were last year? And number two, are you quicker than your nearest rivals, guys like McLaren, Racing Point?
Racing Point, that's an interesting one. They look pretty good. So we'll see. I think they're going to be tough, at least the first part of the year. But yes, I'm quicker. The car's quicker. I think it's close to McLaren. Yeah, so that midfield's going to be tight. Hopefully, the whole field's bunched up from top to tail. Looks like Williams obviously they were the tail last year, but they've made quite big gains from what it looks like. They're certainly not as far back, so it's cool. Hopefully, the whole field's compressed.
A very, very productive test for McLaren. 6 days where seemingly everything went to plan. No major headaches, no major issues, certainly not on the surface anyway. And towards the end of the test today, some headline times, a little bit of pace put on the car, and suddenly all of those days of just no real headlines, just getting on with the program, starting to make sense. There's a very good feeling down here from Lando Norris, from Andreas Seidel, and you're going to hear from Carlos Sainz right now about where the team finds themselves going into Melbourne. Of course, nobody can know for sure, but McLaren are seemingly pretty confident. Carlos, pretty good morning out there. First really quick laps that we've seen from the car. How happy are you?
Yeah, happy with the progress made so far, and especially happy with a good day of testing today. I managed to test 3 or 4 things that I had in the back of my mind and put a run plan together to make sure I tested them before Australia. I managed to take the conclusions, and for me a good test day is based on that, on making sure whatever you test, you know what you have tested and you know if it's better or worse.
Obviously the headline times, can't read too much into it, but how happy were you being able to lean on the car and actually put it through a couple of fast laps?
It's good fun. I mean, a 16.8 on a C3 tire around Barcelona feels special, feels quick. I think we are all quite shocked in a good way with how fast we are and how much we're enjoying this 2020 cars. And honestly, it's something that I'm really looking forward to experimenting in all the tracks of the world, because it's something very special and it puts a smile on my face.
How much of a step forward do you think you've made compared to last year, and more importantly compared to your rivals?
Yeah, I think that's a very well formulated question. I think we've made a lot of progress compared to last year. I think the car, looking at the data, we are much quicker pretty much everywhere compared to last year, so I'm very happy about that. Now we depend on how much progress the others have made. But again, it doesn't depend on McLaren if suddenly a pink car or a white car turns up and is half a second away of the leaders in Australia. I think we cannot control that. If suddenly they've gained a second from one year to another and they've positioned themselves in a fight with the top teams, we cannot control that. As McLaren, as a team, we need to make sure we keep doing the steps that we targeted, which means to be closer in Australia to the top than what we were in the last races of last year. If we accomplish that, I'm going to be happy in Melbourne.
The pink Mercedes, tracing point, call them what you will, they're damn fast, seriously fast. Depending on who you talk to right now, these guys are either top of the midfield or they've bridged the gap from the midfield to the top 3, potentially to even sit within the top 3. Some people are saying they could be second fastest in Australia. Others, a definite third ahead of Ferrari. One thing's for sure, things haven't looked this good down here in some time. The car is reliable. It's really quick. Lance Stroll can't wipe the smile off his face when he was doing his race run on day 2 of this final test. Comparable times to Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari. Today, Checo Perez not quite on the same pace as Charles Leclerc on their race runs, but they were out at slightly different times. I mean, they were on the same track at the same time, but at slightly different points of their test run. But there's so much positivity down here, as you're about to hear from Andrew Green, tech boss at the team. We could hear from the drivers, but Andrew's actually got some really interesting comments about just how confident they are and what they feel they could achieve. It's usual for drivers to look excited. Tech directors, tech bosses, they don't normally give anything away. Not so with Mr. Andrew Green. It's a very happy chappy. Testing is very, very nearly over. Are you ready for Australia? Are you prepared?
Can't wait. Can't wait. We've been waiting for this moment for a long time to ship the car off and let's go racing. We're more than ready. We're not 100% prepared. I don't know whether anyone is, but we're prepared enough, and we just want to go and show what we can do. Really,
the running over these past 6 days appears to have been, I don't want to say bulletproof, but incredibly good and incredibly reliable. Have you found any major issues that have worried you or troubled you?
Plenty of issues that worried me. They're all background issues so far, which is good. We've got a lot of work to do at the factory over the next 2 weeks to try and make sure we arrive in Melbourne with the majority of these sorted out. None of them so far are what I'll call really significant, but collectively they're a headache, which we would expect from a brand new car, brand new concept. But I think overall, we're very happy with the way it's gone. I think we're very happy with the reliability of the car. I think the design team have done a fantastic job. It's as close to to bulletproof as we could have anticipated at this stage. So.
We know no one's turned everything up to the max yet, but on the race run yesterday, Lance's times were very similar to those that Vettel was running at the same time, at the same fuel load it seemed to be.
Yeah.
How promising do you find that? And also, how promising do you find the fact that Lance can't keep the smile off his face, Checo can't keep the smile off his face, and it looks like you're trying pretty hard to keep it under wraps as well?
Yeah. I think he was very positive about his long running yesterday. I think he's happy to go to Melbourne with the information he's got and the driving he's got under his belt. It was encouraging. The conditions were really tricky yesterday. They were really tricky. It was very windy, and the car balance was really positive in really tricky conditions. He had a car underneath him regardless of what was going on around him, which was a great sign. So yeah, it was encouraging. We'll do another race run this afternoon, see how that one goes. But yeah, fingers crossed. It's not looking too bad.
Are Red Bull the biggest challengers to Mercedes in 2020? They've had a very good testing pre-season. They've had a very good 6 days. Couple of issues here and there, one of which could potentially be the overall handling of the car at speed, because when both Alex Albon and Max Verstappen were on hot laps, really push laps over these last 6 days, we've seen them lose the rear and fall into a spin, and the frequency with which it's happened has led people in the paddock to ask whether the car is a little skittish, whether they are struggling with the balance of it on those push laps. Time will tell, and only one person really can answer for us, and that will be Max Verstappen, so we're going to talk to him now. Red Bull said they needed to hit the ground running in 2020 after a disappointing 2019, certainly disappointing start to 2019. They want to take that fight to Mercedes. They need to arrive in Australia with a car capable of fighting them. Everything that we've seen suggests they may just have one. Does Max Verstappen agree? All over.
Yeah.
Do you feel prepped? Do you feel ready for Australia?
Yeah, I feel ready. We tried basically everything we wanted to try over all the days together. So I'm very pleased with that.
And a little bit of fun at the end of the day, a couple of big push laps. How does the car feel at speed?
Yeah, I mean, everybody did that already before, so of course we planned a bit of that as well. And yeah, it's a lot more fun to drive a car like that than, of course, all the time just a lot of laps in a row. So it all seemed to be working quite well. I mean, we were not running the softest compound, but still I think the balance of the car was good.
Some people think the car might be a little bit skittish, might be a little bit loose. A couple of spins for you and for Alex over the course of the 2 weeks. Are they right to be worried about that?
They don't drive the car, so they don't know.
Are you worried about that?
I'm not worried at all.
Excellent. About anything or just about that?
I'm not worried at all. That doesn't mean that we have to keep pushing and improving.
Excellent stuff. So for Melbourne, can you take the fight to Mercedes, do you think? Can you hit the ground running as the team had hoped?
Well, we had a good preparation. I think that's very important from our side, and I hope it's enough to be competitive in Melbourne.
And so to Ferrari, the biggest question mark after testing. But are they keeping their true pace and potential under wraps? That's the question everyone's got right now, because we don't think we've seen the full extent of what Ferrari has to offer. We haven't seen their full hand, or have we? If we have, then there's a bit of a problem down here in terms of their raw pace and in terms of their hopes for this season. If they haven't turned the wick up and haven't properly pushed, a lot of people are asking why, because it would mean that they are going to Australia without a full understanding of their car really turned up full beans. Now, we're going to speak to Mattia Binotto. We spoke to him earlier today. You may have heard this afternoon, in fact, within the last sort of half an hour of the last session of testing, that an announcement came out from the FIA. FIA concludes analysis of Scuderia Ferrari Formula One power unit. So I'm going to read it out to you. The FIA announces that after thorough technical investigations, it has concluded its analysis of the operation of the Scuderia Ferrari Formula One power unit and reached a settlement with the team. The specifics of the agreement will remain between the parties. The FIA and Scuderia Ferrari have agreed to a number of technical commitments that will improve the monitoring of all Formula One power units for forthcoming championship seasons, as well as assist the FIA in other regulatory duties in Formula One and in its research activities on carbon emissions and sustainable fuels. we couldn't ask Mattia about that, as his press conference happened 2 hours before that was released. If you were wondering why that topic isn't broached in the questions coming up right now. What we were able to ask Mattia about, however, is the fear, the worry. Is it genuine, or are they holding something back to try to not bring that false sense of optimism that they had last year, where they flattered to deceive? Let's not forget, this time last year we left testing and everybody thought Ferrari was going to monster the World Championship. We got to Melbourne and that proved not to be so. But as you're about to hear from Mattia, he's either got a really good poker face or they are in a bit of bother. After the positivity of 2019 winter testing and the relative disappointment from the car in the early races of this season, is this year and your negative projections sort of a deliberate ploy almost to relieve pressure, or are your worries genuine?
No, I don't think it's a relief of pressure at all. Contrary, I think when you're going not as fast as you would like or you should, you get the pressure. I think as Ferrari we got only one objective, so if you're not reaching it, you cannot be relieved. So it's we're not playing game. I think that's our true performance at the moment. How bad or how good it is, I think it's only on the first 2-3 races that we'll have a clearer picture. But no, the pressure is there. The pressure should be seen as a motivation and not a drama.
Which elements are causing you the most concern at the moment?
I think it's the overall car performance that need to be improved. Power unit, aero, even setup. So I don't think there is a single area where we need to focus, but on all the areas.
And we finish then with the world champions going for what would be an incredible 7th consecutive drivers and constructors world championship. They've looked fast, obviously. The top times of the entire test belong to Mercedes. But a point that we made at the very top of the show down at Williams, power unit issues for Mercedes too. Power unit issues. We were told there was an ERS problem for Valtteri in test 1. It may have been a little more extreme than that. They changed the entire power unit. A number of units had to go back to Brixworth for checks. Lewis Hamilton on the penultimate day, an oil pressure issue. Again, the team's worried. Spoke to James Allison at lunchtime. He said, when you compare it with last year, they're further ahead of where they were last year in terms of their competitiveness, but they're behind where they were last year in terms of their reliability. The power unit could, if this team is going to have an Achilles heel, if it is going to have something that stops it in these early races, that could be it. Are we searching for some chink of light in the competitive order that might stop these guys from being quite as dominant as in recent years? Perhaps. But yeah, they've looked very, very good. But the reliability, I should say, isn't quite there yet. Let's talk to Lewis Hamilton, gunning this year, not just for a 7th Formula One World Championship, but also to beat Michael Schumacher's record of 91 Grand Prix victories. Does he have a car that he believes can do both of those things?
After this winter testing, what are your thoughts about your performances, and do you get the feeling it's you and the rest of the world, or do you expect a close fight with your opponents?
I mean, I think we've had a good winter test. I think it's not been perfect. I think we found that we've got plenty of problems that we're trying to iron out, and it's no, I don't know how long they will all take to iron out, but that's never a bad thing necessarily to discover them through testing. And but otherwise, I think our performance has been good in the sense of the amount of laps we've got, the mileage, otherwise apart from yesterday, and the actual process and the things that we discovered along the way. So I have no idea where we stand compared to others. I've not been. The team probably will have a better idea of that.
If you look back, would you think it was reasonable to win so much in that span of time?
Definitely not. I think I never really knew. Ultimately, I always kind of believed that kind of the sky's not really the limit, and but I never really knew exactly what we would achieve. When I joined this team, I believe we would be winning at some stage. Did I think we would win as much as we have? Absolutely not. But I don't feel like it's a coincidence that we have won as much as we have, because it's just the whole organization, the whole team absolutely every individual is so focused, and you've seen our consistency over the years. It doesn't come easy, but it comes from really great work, a lot of great communication. We're very, very critical of ourselves. Everyone's very, very open. We're not treading on eggshells around anyone. So it is the perfect team.
So that's your lot from Paddock Pass here in Barcelona. Been a great couple of weeks testing. Always love testing, asks a lot of questions, doesn't usually answer them all. And we are still uncertain as to the total competitive order. Has everybody given their full hand? Has everybody showed us everything? Not yet. A lot of subtle messages left behind. Cannot wait to get to Melbourne. Join us there for what promises to be a genuinely really thrilling 2020 season. For now though, that's your lot.